I don't want to hear, man.
Do you hear the music?
Whose idea was it?
Here.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Comb your hair. You got a shirt on.
Okay. Hey, guys. This is Jim the Keys bartender. And if you heard during our introduction, you heard Jack and Joel talking. They are acquainted with the internet and Skype. It's just it would appear that they don't. I'm not sure. Are you video chatting each other? I was explaining to both them. Welcome to Keys Bartender Show. We're going to have Jack and Jack Weaver and Joel. No last name right now because he doesn't want to talk about it. And
that witness protection program, you don't want to blow everything.
We don't want to get him kicked out of the United States and denied entry from Malaga, Spain. Did I get that right?
I play my cards close to my chest, man.
Okay. Hey, Jack, the last time we saw you, you had gone away. It was a little hush-hush. Can you talk about when you? It was. I think the last time we saw you, it's May now. It was back in February, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if I should talk about it because you have quite a following down there. I can just say I had to be called away for a couple of weeks, and it was a positive experience. Yeah,
we have literally 3 times as many listeners as we did prior to.
To the last time we
last time you were on the podcast.
Okay, what are you trying to?
Thank God for pandemics. No?
Yeah, what are you trying to tell us? We come on and then we're gone, and then your explosion of listeners comes on after we leave. So that's telling me that if you want to dilute your audience, you put us on more often, right?
Or you could take it this way, Jack, because you were on, we saw a growth in audience. And you can look at it. You can look at it optimistically that you were. But you can look at it the other way if you want. I
mean, the other way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Third way of looking at it is Jack came on. Audience dropped. Jack was.
That was the first way.
Boy, you know what?
First and third, whatever.
Joel, your voice,
sharp as a tack, just like always. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Your audio was dropping out. I thought that Skype would do it. I guess we could have just done it. We could have done it.
I'm a soft talker.
Yeah, but when it's coming through, I can hear you clear. No, it's not you. It's the internet. It's the internet now.
It's their echo suppression.
Oh, really? Okay. We don't need you to pull any of that psycho analytical bullshit with the music. Okay.
Yeah, psychoacoustic.
Yeah, don't try that on
my word.
Don't try that on Jack and I.
Take your word for it. Where about your dad? Take your word for it. Count on me. I got your back. Yeah.
Jack, ever since the last time we spoke, I've been asking Joel if he could bring on a sample of his psychoacoustic samplings of brainwaves. Is that what you're doing right now? No.
I'm taking a call real quick. Go ahead, guys.
Oh, I thought that was Joel playing his glockenspiel or something like that. That's all right. There's 2 people. Joel,
welcome to the wide world of high tech, man.
Yeah. Joel, I was okay. So Jack is a dentist.
He's on a phone call.
He's on a phone call. You have to listen to it. Wait.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what Jack.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's all right. It was nice to listen. It was nice.
On your camera, Jack.
Yeah, it was nice to listen
Somebody
to you.
Talk.
It was nice to listen in. Well, listen, you know what? Perhaps maybe you shouldn't be messing around with your cameras. That's what's happening. Do we have? You don't have your video on, do you?
I'll turn off my camera.
Do you have it on
done.
still?
I turned it off.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't see him anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, good. See,
It's much
What
better.
okay. I was trying to explain it's more of an audio thing. I know before when we first started podcasting, you used to get yourself a little primped up, Joel, and eventually I think you caught on that you weren't going to have any video component to a podcast. But we had some exciting developments in recent months besides the advent of remote podcasting, so I could talk to my friends, both Jack and Joel. Are you there? Did I lose you guys? Oh, man. This is sad. I'm going to have to... Okay. This is it. I think they may have dumped their... I'm going to connect with them again. I'm going to see how we do right here. Come on. Come on up. But this is the peril of... you're a victim of your internet connection. Let's see what happens. They may be just sitting back being quiet. Who knows? I'm going to keep on trying to get these guys. Okay. Jack doesn't look to be answering. Let's go back. Let's try Joel. This is very exciting, isn't it? Get to see me talk. Okay, nope. I wanted Gabrielle. Let's bring him up. They could be on it. Let's bring him up again. So yesterday I did an interview with Jerry Brazy. Hey, here we go. Okay.
What happened, man?
Take your video off again. Come on. You got your video?
I did. I just did.
Okay.
No, I took my video
Let me
off.
get Jack. I'm going to bring Jack on.
But you dropped out. We thought maybe we had insulted you.
Nope, not at all. Let me, is Jack back?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jack there?
I'm trying to, okay, we got Jack. We got him highlighted. We're going to add him to the call.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're calling Jack. That's all right.
Okay.
Jack is back. Hello. Oh, man.
No, he's on.
I'm on.
Okay. Just keep the video off.
Okay.
Video off.
Yeah. I'm not saying that'll remedy this situation, but who knows? It could help. So since we last spoke, Jack, you went and you were in. Can we say where you were? Before we couldn't say where you were when you left Key Largo.
We won't say that. I don't know. Yeah, let's keep it Key Largo because I don't want to.
Okay.
My brother-in-law had a health issue. We had to go back home.
Oh, I thought you were in Central America.
No, that's a rumor.
Oh, okay.
That's a bad rumor.
Okay,
yeah,
no, that's
I would
fine.
have liked to have been. I would have liked to have been in South America. I had a good friend who told me all about it. I can tell you what he said.
What did he say?
He went to Costa Rica. He said he went to Costa Rica. He found. We'll have to do that sometime because he said he really liked it a lot. Except it was really hot down there. It was in the 90s regularly. So in the mornings you would go out and do your thing, go to the beach and do that stuff. And around 11 o'clock until about 3 or 4, you were inside because it's so damn hot. I think it's because I'm older and he's older that for both of us it would work better not to be in that kind of a climate, that time of year because it's like they're August down there. It's really like he told me it's really hot there. But it's a nice country. They haven't had an army since 1948, which is nice. They wasted the money instead on education and health care. I mean, it's stupid, but I guess they blew it all on that instead of an army.
Oh yeah,
but,
instead of spending money on making war, they decided to educate their people and
I mean, how
make sure they're
dumb
healthy.
is that?
That is pretty stupid.
They're behind the times.
what's a country without missiles?
I don't know. They're not very safe. They're
Yeah.
real stressed out too.
And you know what
They
Freud
told me
would
that
say.
all they wear is flip flops and a pair of shorts, no tops or anything. Well, women wear tops, but you can tell they're stressed out. They're in the bars all day and the beach. I mean, it must be tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're obviously doing something right, and they're doing something wrong.
Since we've been quarantined and had to stay at home order, I've been I've had several politicians on, several reporters on the podcast, and yesterday I got interviewed from this guy who has a podcast in Portland, Oregon, and we did it via Zoom. Have you heard of Zoom?
Yeah, I've used it once.
Okay.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah,
I've been around.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about it. I mean, some people are, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I go to my AA meetings via Zoom. I'll probably be attending them since they're kind of reopening businesses down here, though not reopening the Keys. You heard about the Keys. They have checkpoints on the top of the stretch at 113 and on Cardsound Road.
So if you leave, can you come back?
Yeah. You have to be a Keys resident or have legitimate business in there or long-term rental, So if you're long-term rental. So if a lot of people that were down here had that, but they were, how the Keys are. There's only 130 beds. There's only 9 total ventilators. So they're kind of concerned about overwhelming current our medical facilities. But I had.
Have you had any? Go ahead.
Have we had what?
Have you had any spike at all?
No. It's pretty flat down here, especially since they closed it to tourists and things like that. Not a lot of through traffic.
When did they close it? A couple months ago, didn't they? Early March.
Early April,
or middle March,
late March, because they started closing off the late March.
Yeah, we left first week of March and it's still open.
Pardon?
Did you lose you again?
No, it's just your audio dropped out.
Okay.
You can repeat what you said.
So the bartending business is nothing right now, correct?
No bartending business. I've been doing. Last Friday, I officiated a wedding. Just a small affair. It was a same-sex marriage, and the couple, I married them in their condominium. And later on today, after this podcast, I have some loan documentation I have to notarize down in Tavernier. So I'll go down there. Okay. So I have a little work. Pardon?
How long have you been doing weddings?
3 years.
Are you a JP?
Well, a notary in the Keys can in Florida can officiate weddings.
Oh, good.
So, but I do have I am ordained.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
By who?
The Universal Life Church.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. Hey, I could do a Jewish ceremony and all that stuff.
They don't allow Joel in any kind of a church.
Yeah. I could conduct I could do a Jewish, Hindu, Baptist, Catholic, whatever.
No. Here's the bit. If you've ever been to a Jewish service in a synagogue, temple, whatever, it's really dry, and it's not. There's only one thrill.
Breaking of the glass.
Yeah.
Huh? No. We're not talking. No. I'm talking about a real ceremony,
okay.
and not ceremony, but a service in the synagogue. And the big thing is they open up the Ark, which has the Torah and the Dead Sea Scrolls and all of this.
Oh,
And
the
it's
Ark of the
blinding
Covenant.
light.
I saw
Yeah,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Huh?
No,
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
the Torah. It
Now.
wasn't.
And,
See, it's
and
not.
what happens is,
It's not the
but
Torah.
God comes flooding out in the form of high intensity lights when they open up the Ark, and that's enough. That's
Okay.
enough to knock you back on the ass.
I'm sure
You know.
your
And
relatives.
Now, I think the best by far, well, in the Western religions would be Catholicism. They have the best hats. What I'm saying.
Oh.
Okay.
They don't you don't get to those hats until you're way up there. They
That's
just
right.
they're pretty much
Yeah.
pretty much on the lower orders
That's
like
right.
monsignors and
Right.
priests. It's
Yeah.
more like it's back to the yarmulkes. It's
Yeah.
it's almost like the yarmulkes and stuff like that. You got to
Not
get
the
to be a
yarmulkes.
bishop. You got to be a bishop, an archbishop,
No.
a cardinal.
Yeah. But not all yarmulkes are created equal. Some of the luminaries have very fancy yarmulkes.
Mm-hmm.
So good for them. But the other thing is,
What?
skip the Western religions, go right to Buddhism, go to Tibet, and dig what they wear. I mean, it's fantastic.
I wouldn't know that.
Okay. Well, you know what?
Check it out.
You went right to hats, but I think it's better than the usual time, Jack. We'll be in the middle of it, and out of nowhere, Joel just started talking about people having things stuck up their asses. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's how he correlates wearing nice hats to sticking things up their butts. Okay.
Yeah, yep, gerbils.
Yeah,
He tells us
well,
gerbils. Told his gerbil story
I
twice.
don't know how he got that connection. Anyway.
Jack
Yeah.
hasn't given me, I don't feel you're giving me enough credit on this, Jack, because I talked about it in terms of insertion with slingshots.
Yeah.
And, like you just glaze over that, man.
Let me remind the listeners that these guys have been married for a very long time, so they really need to spice up their act. So they do have that. Well, while I have both you on there, and I have I did mention on my previous podcast. Have you ever heard of a music genre called murder ballads?
I have not. Joe probably.
What? Murder
Ballads. BALLAD.
Oh,
Ballads. Songs about
No.
crimes of passion.
Ballads.
What is that? Is that anything like Norwegian death metal?
No, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, you're familiar with a lot of the music. Even I told you. Because I was, in a previous podcast, I was talking about this music that Abby has a Polish radio station plays on our Amazon, on Alexa. And there's one song there's one song that plays by this Australian singer, Nick Cage, and he has this horrible voice. Jack, I bet Joel could sing much better than this guy. But ever since I've been going to Poland and listening to Polish radio, has to be one of the greatest hits they've ever heard, because this song plays
Really?
every other day. It's called, the song is called Where the Wild Roses Grow. And it's a guy and a woman singing back and forth, a duet. And it turns out the guy meets a girl, takes her to kind of a swampy area where the wild roses grow, and he kills her. And and she's telling it in the past, but it's called a murder ballad, and there's a long tradition of it. It comes from the Middle Ages, But a murder, you know what's considered a murder ballad? Mac the Knife. You heard of Mac the Knife? Hey,
Yeah,
hey
yeah,
Joe,
of course.
hey Joe, hey Joe. Jimi Hendrix,
Hey, Joe.
El Paso, that El Paso song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Dooley, right?
Tom
Yeah. Hang
Dooley.
down your head.
And yeah, there's tons of
Yeah.
music like that. Um, so Goodbye
Mhm.
Earl by the Dixie Chicks. I mean, there's hundreds of songs like this. And I was listening to the song, and after I heard how bad the song was, and then I think the guy put out a whole album of it. It's called Murder Ballads, and it wasn't all about murder. It was about people committing suicide, getting run over by cars and stuff like that. But they're called murder ballads. It's just mainly things like Green Sleeves. I think Green Sleeves, the old English
Yeah.
madrigal, is a is that. And as soon as I started researching this stuff, the murder ballads, I started having weird dreams. And yeah,
Yeah.
Mate,
That sounds.
yeah.
and I
Do the
envisioned,
Gothics? Do the Gothics like this stuff?
yeah, the Gothic, Middle Ages and stuff like that. But I started,
Sure about that.
yeah.
Sure about that.
But I was wondering, after I had the weird dreams and all that, I was wondering if either one of you ever take stock in dream interpretation.
Uh, everybody, I don't know. I'll just Joel's a psychologist, but I think there's some validity to that. But I figure why dissect it? Just enjoy it or whatever. Why do I need to know why I'm dreaming a certain thing? I mean, unless it's a bad dream, maybe. But I don't. It's just like when you're in school and you read a poem, and they say, what does the guy mean when he said the grass is greener over here, or that flower is purple instead of blue? What did he mean by that? I mean, you can dissect even single two-sentence word sentences and try to figure out what they mean by it. I mean, there's all interpretation. So I don't put a lot of credence to it, but maybe Joel's got some insights because he's a professional.
Well, the current take on it, and I'm not that up to date, but this is a fairly current take on it, is that it's not so much the content of the dream as it is the emotion of the dream, what you're feeling in the dream has correspondence to what's going on in your life at that point in time.
Well, I would
wait,
agree with that.
You said the emotion of the dream, and what was that prior to that? You said I heard you say the
It's
emotion.
not so much the content.
Not the content, but the emotion.
Okay,
But
so I frequently have dreams of being ill prepared and not on schedule. And the one I had last night was I was coming back with my extended family, and it included Abby, from Paris on a plane. And when I arrived at the airport, I was in there, and I didn't think it odd. I was leaving the plane without my shirt on, which was actually a light sweater. And I got off the plane. I'm ready to go through customs. Then I realized, that wouldn't be appropriate. And I went back to the plane, boarded the plane. The plane got on an elevator. I ended up being in a different part of the airport, got separated from my passport. And I kept on having barriers put in between me and returning home. I was very anxious.
I think I can interpret that.
Okay, let's hear it.
bullshit.
Well, I'll give you two things, and Joel can do his. I think there's a little sense of insecurity there and a little sense of lack of control about events in your life.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
I would interpret it a little differently, if that's all right with you, Jack.
No, that's fine. I'm not attached to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, I think that's why you function so highly as being prepared.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's the um, most famous graph in psychology is an inverted U-shaped function. It just looks like a U.
Hmm.
And what you have is, um, it's like performance on the baseline, and then going up is the level of anxiety or activation, whatever you want to call it. But so up to, you see, nobody performs when there's no anxiety attached to it, but there's an optimal level of performance, being prepared in this case, if you will. And then it goes over the hump and it starts coming down because you get too anxious and your behavior starts falling apart. You can't operate well. So, like to give you an example, I still have academic dreams where I'm like I've missed my final exam, or I was completely unprepared for it, something like that. You know, so this is one way to look at it for you in a positive light, if you will,
Yeah.
is that this is you are you're high. I declare you're a high level of performer. You're always prepared for these shows. You know your stuff. You're always researching that sort of thing, and you sort of like it would cause you anxiety to drop the ball.
Okay.
That's a high standard to adhere to, though, isn't it?
Well, it is. Jim seems to be able to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I realize that, but that's what the dream was about a little bit, wasn't it? He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
He was
was
afraid.
concerned.
Yeah.
I was concerned that it was tied to my. Yeah.
This is just let me say, this is, so this is like, I don't know, 40, 50 years after I got my
Yeah.
PhD. I still have these dreams. I still have dreams where I'm still trying to get my PhD. So it's not, it's not that you don't do it. It's that you have these very high standards for yourself. And this is what your initial drive was, to go ahead and be a high performer.
Oh.
So why does
good.
he need to be a high performer?
We don't have a good answer to that, Jack. You can speculate.
I was going to ask him if he had an answer.
Oh, I thought it was tied to my premature ejaculation, but you guys cleared it up pretty good. So I'm just going to leave it.
I didn't have anything to do with that.
Okay.
I had nothing to do with that. Joel
Yeah.
can control that better than I
Okay.
can.
No.
Hey, you guys, would would you guys like to hear about my post-mature ejaculation?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, since my, you know what I'm saying, since my retirement, turned 70, then 75,
I
78.
was going to say that was a few years ago, buddy. Come on. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to weigh you down with that stuff. But that's a whole different story. I think we're getting off track.
Well, don't get all the ladies excited there, Joel.
Well, Jim's the one that changed the subject because he's uncomfortable answering the question.
I wasn't uncomfortable. Oh, Joel's uncomfortable answering the question.
No, you were uncomfortable answering the question. Why do you need to overachieve?
Oh, I'm not uncomfortable asking that. The reason I don't know if I wouldn't if you thought I'm an overachiever, that's great. I don't think I am, but thank you.
Well, I just think well, go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
Why don't you, wait a second, whoa. overachiever is not a compliment. That means you're, in some ways, in the extreme, you're a dullard, but you've overachieved and become like, just for example, President of the United States.
Oh well,
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
always said
Jesus.
if I had the next time I got my IQ evaluated, I would rather it be very low, and then I could just look upon myself as an overachiever. So performing a high performing imbecile that would be a dream
That's
come true.
good. That'd be good. Yeah.
I have to, no, I have to tell you, um, as a therapist, I would test people. I would never tell them what their IQ was because either they'd be really disappointed that it's not as high as they thought it was, or they feel like underachievers if it was higher than they thought it was. You can't satisfy anybody.
No, I know. Yeah.
I realize it took me a while to really to accept that uh, I someone else's intelligence doesn't diminish my own, so I don't have to be better or less than anybody else. But I learned
I'm
that.
glad.
That's one thing I learned.
Yes,
I'm
for
glad
the
you
most,
learned that. That's an important lesson.
Yes.
It
well,
really is.
for the most part, we're operating off an old system with IQ tests
Yes.
because by now we realize there are different types of intelligence.
Correct.
I'll just give you an example. You know this Michael Jordan that's on ESPN right now.
Last Dance. The Last Dance.
Yeah, and it's very good, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But
Excellent.
Michael
on the
Jordan.
other
Michael
hand,
Michael Jordan's final year,
Season.
and
yes,
yeah.
that stands. The
Bill
last
Jackson.
stand.
Yeah.
But the thing is that he's not a particularly great golf player. Okay, you see him flipping coins with people to the wall, and he's not particularly successful at that. He's not a great gambler. He left for a while to try baseball. He wasn't good at that.
He was
He
good, but he wasn't great. He was average for a pro.
Average.
Yeah.
What he is a genius at is baseball. That's it.
Baseball,
I mean,
basketball.
basketball, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So it's very hard to rate intelligence, that sort of thing. It's nothing anybody should lay a trip on, excuse me, a trip on themselves about.
No, I
Okay,
agree. Yeah.
you are what you are. Play to your best hand, and do what you love doing. And there you have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So recently, because of COVID-19, I had all the extra time on my hand. I've been concentrating on the show. I've actually a small town in the Netherlands called Leiderdorp. I have some listeners there, so I've been looking to make this the number one Florida-produced podcast in that region of the Netherlands, which I believe is an achievable goal. It could be a low bar, but that's what I'm doing. Also, I've been studying war theory, and I've been reading
What?
up on Clausewitz and Sun Tzu. And I believe war theory is not doesn't just have to do with war. It has to do with like human nature. And it's not
Come out.
necessarily
You said
aggressive.
war theory.
War, WAR. Yeah, war theory.
War theory. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because years ago I read it,
When
and
they-
yeah, I had a different understanding of it when I was a younger man that I do as a more mature man now, or middle-aged, late middle-aged man. And after reading it again, and this is the interesting part, I don't want to necessarily talk about that because right now I'm not saying I'm the expert, but I'm well read on that. It's amazing how you could take something that you read years ago with an incomplete understanding of the world. Not that I
Yes.
have a complete understanding, but after reading about von Clausewitz, about
Yep.
the fog of war, it was an incomplete Clausewitz study on war. On war, his work is incomplete. Sun Tzu's is a complete work, but Sun Tzu, it may not have been the one that just wrote it. All those things I read have partly to do with war. Other ones has to do with interaction, just on person personal basis. There was so the fog of war is like when you're in the middle of a battle or any type of strife. There's there's incomplete information, dubious occurrences, and also completely erroneous information, and you're measured against a high level of fear, doubt, and excitement, and you really don't know what's going on. So a lot of times, like with this COVID-19, when things started happening here, we've just reacted without getting all the information. If we didn't react, then we wouldn't have, we wouldn't have been able to flatten that curve out, right?
Right.
And we missed the chance of getting on top of it earlier because of our leadership at the top. But local leaders or statewide leaders, they've seemed to do a better job of handling it. And a lot of times the way, let's say, someone would be considered a military genius would be a genius in just handling any problem. It's like the ability to comprehend a very complex, unfathomable problem and bring it into perspective. And that's what you need from leadership almost. And that's, when I was reading this, I go, wow, that goofball in charge right here, he kind of had it right when he called this is war, when he's talking about it. But his handling of it was befuddled, right?
Well, staying on your subject of war, do you feel that war is inevitable forever, in the sense that that's just in the DNA of the human being? Because the thing that God did is He gave us He gave us freedom of choice. And as soon as there was Adam and Eve, and then another guy comes along with a woman comes along with another guy, he clubs him over the head and takes his wife too. So it just seems to be in the human nature that people are going to fight. And I was hoping this coronavirus would bring everybody more together. Some segments just bring them together, and other segments are getting more antagonistic towards the others. It's getting more vicious.
Historically,
the more people are
we have less
threatened, the more
warfare.
people strike out.
Historically, we've had less warfare than ever in human history.
Yeah, but
I meant leading up.
The
even
toys
leading
are
up.
more. Yeah, the toys are bigger though.
Yes.
The toys we can destroy ourselves with. That's the problem.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was bound to happen with technology.
Yeah.
It just
So
happened.
do you think we're always going to have wars?
Well, I mean, you've just mentioned a country that decided to do away with a standing army. I don't think it's an outlier. I think there'll probably be other countries that way.
Do you think this
war is a way of compelling your opposition to bend to your will?
Well, of course, right.
And I guess in the advent of human history, when people got together, it was more warlike because people were. That's what they did to compel other people. They didn't have diplomacy. They didn't have ideas. You didn't have this. Even Machiavelli, when he came across on a prince, he was kind of kissing the ass of the prince because he could be put to death like that. But he knows that diplomacy works, and there's certain things you have to do. But I think the more educated society becomes, if they allow society to become educated, and you put the hands of the information in the hands of the people, and you take away childhood trauma, because I think a lot of violence is brought on later in life because the introduction of childhood trauma. If you don't have childhood trauma, then people are less likely to resolve their conflicts violently. I
Well,
think
the
it's
thing
that.
is,
I think it's that simple.
yeah. What do you think is going to happen as a positive result of the COVID-19 when we finally get a vaccine and everything is getting back to pseudo normal? What do you think is going to be the benefit of all this
If they do
for
work,
societies around the world?
if they do work together, they're going to see that. If they see it's beneficial that extranational organizations have a real, like the WHO, United Nations, and how people handle the vaccine and how they, distribute the research and how that'll show a real need to, there's no way even places like shut societies, they're exposed because of international trade. So we really need to help each other. So I don't know in the long run. Look what's happening here. There's a real movement, especially in the developed world, towards authoritarianism. Hungary has a dictator right now. Russia, Brazil, United States has a rather ineffectual
Philippines,
one.
The Philippines, North Korea.
North Korea, that I meant like the developed world. When you think about Hungary, Russia, Brazil, and things like that, where people, there's people with interest. They have special interests. They're not dopes. They know what they're electing, and I guess there's always going to be a level of selfishness where they're going to allow people like that to come into power.
Well, of course there is. Don't you feel, in a way, I've reframed this a bit. I think that, in a sense, this coronavirus is something that was necessary to get the world's attention because we couldn't sustain the models that we've had for the last millennium. So this is a wake-up call, and we either pay attention or we don't. And I think it's a test of mankind to learn to get along and to appreciate the so-called little people that are absolutely necessary for society to function. The people we've taken advantage of and taken grants for granted. Everybody's got value. Everybody has a contribution. Everybody should be recognized for the value that they have and what they do. And I'm hoping that this will raise people's awareness worldwide that we are all in this together. So we needed something to get our attention. So that's the positive spin I've come out of this thing anyway.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
The negative side is where you got those protesters that show up at places like the Michigan State Capitol and they're bringing assault weapons.
But they have a right to do that. But they're showing themselves to be idiots, and they're being discounted by people with any sanity, and so they're marginal. You're always going to have those people.
I know,
those
not all white nationalists or right-wing extremists are necessarily. Not all Republicans are right-wing extremists or white supremacists, but all right-wing extremists and white nationalists are Republicans.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to put labels on them because they're good people too. Remember, we were told
that. No, they're not. They're not.
They were good. No, that's what he said.
I know he's not, but I don't think they're people.
Yo, can I get a word in?
Yes, the floor recognizes Joel.
Thank you. Look, the underclass is fucked. The underclass has always been fucked. Sorry about that, Jack, but I don't see the underclass becoming successful from this. I think it's wishful thinking.
I didn't say that. I didn't say successful. Just being acknowledged and not being frowned upon and spat upon. That's all.
You don't see it a lot. You don't see it a lot in the news unless you're carefully. But most of these COVID-19 cases, especially deaths, are underclass.
Oh, I agree. They don't have any access to anything.
That's the way it works.
So it's okay if they die, right?
It's alive?
Yeah, I should say.
Yeah.
And you know, and I have another comment, just going back a few moments ago about Sun Tzu and the art of war. And what the backstory of that was that this was the era of warring states in China. And so there were these um, sort of medieval um, um, mm, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But you had there was a lot of division within China, and they were all warring against each other, and it was getting to be too much because too much of the population was dying, resources were getting depleted, and Sun Tzu sat down and he wrote this thing, and some of the first things he said was like number one, um, get your intelligence before you go to war. Number two, get your allies together. In other words, he was creating, instead of like just bash them in the head, he was like take an intellectual view of this and a cost risk analysis, if you will, before you just go on destroying. So that was a very significant step forward. The art of war is used in war colleges today. It's
Sure.
used in business.
Business.
Yeah, it's a very. I recommend it. I used to recommend it to my patients, in just in their interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
you
I
know,
mean,
the guy who would come
the
in
guy
and
von Clausewitz
that I
says
have
most.
complain that I have a boss that's killing me. Okay, how are you going to wage war against this boss? You can go at him directly. That's not going to get you anywhere. How clever can you be? You know, those kinds of things.
Well,
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
Sun Tzu said that a victorious warriors win first and then go to war, and then the defeated warriors go to war, fight, and then seek the win. So if they haven't,
Exactamente.
yeah, yeah,
What I'm saying. Yeah.
only enter battles that you could win, and so if you,
Yeah,
what was
be
that other
prepared.
thing? If you
Have a
if
plan.
you if you know yourself and you know your enemies, you'll win 100 battles. If you know yourself and don't know the enemies, you'll trade victory for loss back and forth, win half. But if you don't know yourself and you don't
You're
know
done.
your enemy, you'll
You're done.
never win. So that's that's one of the things you do. But that works in
Yeah.
all the different lives. That
It's
works in relationships. That works in
it moves.
relationships. So
Yes,
any,
it works in any endeavor, and it moves war instead of a, you know, what do you call them, knuckle draggers, whatever. Uh, you know, it moves it into the intellectual realm. No,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, it did. But it's not war they were talking about. Just like when it comes to the dream imagery of a cigar, right? Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Well, I just want you to know. I want to thank both of you. The I mentioned that town in Holland, which I sent another shout out. Did either of you ever watch the TV show on HBO called Game of Thrones?
I did not.
I've been known to do that.
Remember the redhead woman, the redheaded priestess?
Mm,
Very
they,
attractive. Well,
I
they were
didn't
all
see it.
they were all
I
very
didn't get hooked
attractive.
on it.
Well, she's an actress. She's from the town I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
When we sent out a, I mean, I think my dream would be in the next couple of months to be able to interview her.
That'd be great.
That would be great. I do. Later on this week, I have a interview lined up on Thursday with the mayor of Key West.
yo,
Yes,
wow,
the
that's
mayor,
great.
the mayor of Key West, and then I'm going to probably go after somebody on the mainland, perhaps Miami, Miami South Beach or Miami Beach or something like that. One of the mayors there. If I get like a half hour with one of them, but fortunately, I get you guys.
That'd be interesting to see how yeah. Everything's
Yeah.
different on South Beach, that's for sure.
Certainly
Well, I
is.
don't know. Jim, why don't you go? Why don't you go? Why don't you get one of them topless types on South Beach on your show?
I'm topless right now, so what do you mean?
Yeah, what are you talking about, Joel?
Yeah.
That's what people are at the beach.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, you mean women?
Yeah.
Boy, Jesus, Joel.
don't forget-
If you know,
Jesus.
we
What are you limiting your
Jack,
show?
Jack,
You limiting your show to single
Jack,
gender?
is it always?
Yeah.
Is it always something that's what do you call? Am I a prude or is it always sexualized?
No, he's full circle. He always comes back to his starting point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. All comes. He's still very basic. He's primitive. He just wants to procreate and go sow seeds. I mean, he only does it in his dreams now, but he still likes to feel that way.
Not even, hey man, not even in my dreams.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay,
Sad. It's really sad, no?
that's okay. You did your share.
Yeah. Well, listen. I
mean-
hopefully we'll be able to talk next week if you guys are both
Yeah.
available. Since we have you,
Yeah.
on Skype, and maybe we
It's
can
going to be
do
overexposure, isn't it? Maybe every other week or something. I don't know. I just wonder.
every other week. That'd be fine.
I
Maybe.
Joel likes it.
overexposure.
Joel likes it every week.
Yeah,
What
I
about,
know.
what about 4 times a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanna concentrate on
Jack,
the.
I don't want you to. I don't want you to feel too isolated, Jack. You know,
I'm not isolated. I tell you, I'm putting in a new dental office. Okay, so I've been busy doing stuff. So I'm using this downtime until we can reopen. So I'm like Jim. I actually have a life outside of 4 walls. So So
Hey, I've been, so we all have a lot of time on our hands, and I've been mix mastering a lot of my music that I've had in the can, and needs to
yeah.
go
Here it
into
comes again, Jack.
production.
He's talking.
Is
talking about,
Gabby letting you out of the basement, Joel?
there it
Yeah,
goes
basement.
in the can. What do you mean by in the can?
In the can, yeah. He's
Oh,
recording.
I have the raw.
archive.
I have the raw recordings, and so I'm sort of mixing and mastering them.
Okay, I'm
In
still
his
wait-
vault.
yeah, I want to
Yeah.
hear. I want to hear the rendering of brainwaves through a synthesizer one of these days. We
All
gotta
right,
listen
man.
to
I'll
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you
And-
work
and-
on that.
and next time-
I
next
dropped
time,
that.
I'm going to
No, I
do a
dropped
little
that
investigative reporting, and maybe you guys can do this. Investigate the spread of deviancy during COVID-19. I think,
Deviancy.
yeah, the level of deviancy has definitely.
How would we
upped.
know? How would we know?
Oh, it's very easy quantifiable by checking out search statistics.
Yeah, I'm going to do that in my spare time.
Oh, it's all you have to
Joel
do.
will do that.
There's a Google, a simple Google search where you just put in there and says you just put in the most searched items in the past week, and you go down to number 20 and 30, and you see last week one of the things was where in the rest of the world it was how can I get COVID-19? How long does it take to recover? What are the best remedies and then things like that? In the United States, it was one was how do you cut your own hair?
I can believe that.
Yeah, and then there was another one about what's the best way to fight toe fungus. So I didn't get that one. That was yeah. So that was, and I'm not saying that's deviant.
Yeah.
But that's in the top. But the deviant stuff is like at number 20, 21, 22. But I'll bring those up. I'll forward it to you guys. So
No.
you know. Okay.
I just want to
Do that in your spare time.
Yeah.
Let me just say this, and then I'm out. The best way to fight toe fungus is with a really sharp knife.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. Okay. Well, Jack, thank you very much. Thank you,
You're
Joel.
welcome. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, keep those toes clean, Joel.
He
All
knows
right,
how to
Jim.
go out on us.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Footnote.
Yeah.
Nice footnote, Joel.
Yeah, and to our listeners, thank you for listening. If you'd like to investigate CBD and CBG products that have very low levels of THC in it, please check out the products offered by Dakind, DAKIND, at Dakind.com. And also Bellissima Wines, if you like Prosecco and sparkling white wine, they have great organic choices and low sugar alternatives. Thanks again, Joel. Thanks again, Jack. I'm going to play the music
You're
now.
welcome. Okay.
All right. Out.
Bye. So, Joel, are you still on? Are you on, Joel?
Joel, I don't know if Joel's still on. I think he hung up.
No, he's not on. Okay, that's cool. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Okay.